Wednesday morning, 11:20 a.m. Providence Municipal Court, Courtroom 3. The fluorescent lights hum softly overhead as Judge Frank Caprio prepares to hear Case 3482, what should be a straightforward speeding violation. What he doesn't know yet is that this simple traffic case is about to become a masterclass in how quickly disrespect can escalate into consequences. Rachel Fischer, 33 years old, approaches the defendant's table with the confident stride of someone accustomed to being in control. She is dressed in business casual attire, tailored blazer, crisp blouse, professional demeanor in every aspect except one. Her attention is entirely absorbed by the glowing screen in her hand. Her thumb scrolls continuously as she walks, never once looking up to acknowledge the court, the judge, or the gravity of where she stands. "Good morning, Miss Fischer," Judge Caprio begins, his tone measured and professional. She glances up briefly, barely a flicker of eye contact. "Morning," she mutters, her gaze immediately returning to her phone screen. Judge Caprio waits. 5 seconds pass. 10. Rachel continues scrolling, her face illuminated by the blue light, completely oblivious to the silence building around her. "Miss Fischer," he says again, his voice carrying a note of expectation. "Yeah, I'm listening," she responds without looking up, her thumb still moving across the screen. Judge Caprio's expression remains calm, but those who know him recognize the subtle shift, the slight straightening of his posture, the deliberate pause before he speaks. "I need you to put the phone away." Rachel looks up, and for the first time, genuine annoyance crosses her features. "I'm dealing with a work emergency. This is important." "Court is also important," Caprio replies evenly. "Please put the phone away." With a heavy, theatrical sigh that suggests she's being subjected to unreasonable demands, Rachel slides the phone into her jacket pocket. "Fine." Judge Caprio takes a moment to collect his thoughts before proceeding. He's presided over thousands of cases, dealt with every variety of defendant. But there's something particularly exasperating about the modern epidemic of digital distraction. The implicit message that whatever is happening on a small screen matters more than the proceedings of a court of law. "You're cited for traveling 82 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone on Route 95, he begins. "That's 17 miles over the posted limit, which—" Buzz! The sound cuts through the courtroom like an alarm. Loud, insistent, impossible to ignore. Without hesitation, without apparent thought, Rachel's hand dives into her pocket and emerges with the phone. Her eyes lock onto the screen immediately. Judge Caprio stops mid-sentence. "Miss Fischer." She holds up one finger, a universal gesture that would be dismissive in any context. But in a courtroom, directed at a sitting judge, it crosses into territory that cannot be ignored. "1 second," she says, her attention entirely on the screen as her thumbs begin typing rapidly. "No," Judge Caprio says, his voice dropping into a register that veteran court observers recognize as a warning. "Not 1 second. Put the phone away now." She continues typing, finishing her thought before looking up. "I said it's urgent. My boss is texting me about a client issue." "Then step outside and handle it," Caprio responds, his patience visibly thinning. "But you cannot use your phone while court is in session." Rachel's face registers genuine disbelief, as if she's being asked to do something absurd. "Are you serious? It's just a phone." "It's a sign of disrespect to this court. Put it away or leave the courtroom and return when you're ready to participate fully in these proceedings." Rachel rolls her eyes, an actual, unmistakable eye roll directed at Judge Frank Caprio. Several people in the gallery shift uncomfortably. This is crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. Okay, Jesus," she mutters, shoving the phone back into her pocket with exaggerated frustration, as if she's the one being inconvenienced by unreasonable demands. Judge Caprio takes a deliberate breath, recalibrating his approach. "Thank you. Now, as I was saying, you were traveling—" Buzz. Before anyone can process what's happening, Rachel's hand shoots to her pocket. The phone emerges. She's reading the screen before Judge Caprio can even speak. His voice, when it comes, is cold, devoid of the warmth and patience that usually characterizes his courtroom demeanor. Miss Fischer, I have now asked you 3 times to put your phone away. This is your final warning. Rachel looks up, and something in her expression has shifted. The mild annoyance has transformed into genuine anger, the indignation of someone who believes they're being treated unfairly. And I've told you 3 times that I'm dealing with something important. Do you not understand that? The audacity of the question hangs in the air. The implicit accusation that the judge lacks understanding, lacks perspective, lacks the intelligence to grasp what should be obvious. Judge Caprio's response is measured, but carries unmistakable steel. Do you not understand that you're in a courtroom? That there are established rules about phone use that apply to everyone who enters this space? Rachel scoffs, actually scoffs. Your rules are stupid. Everybody uses phones. This is 2024, not 1950. The gallery is completely silent now. This isn't just disrespect. This is open defiance, a fundamental challenge to the authority and legitimacy of the court itself. This is a court of law, Caprio says, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the room. And in this court, you will not use your phone. Period. Or what? Rachel challenges, her tone mocking. You'll hold me in contempt for texting? She laughs. Actual, genuine laughter that echoes through the stunned silence of the courtroom. Yes, Judge Caprio says simply. I will. That's insane, Rachel shoots back. You can't punish people for using phones. I can absolutely hold you in contempt for repeatedly defying direct orders from the bench. Rachel's face flushes red, anger and disbelief warring for dominance. This is ridiculous. I have rights. I have the right to communicate with my employer. Not while court is in session, you don't. You're on some kind of power trip. This is abuse of authority. Judge Caprio's jaw tightens, the only visible sign of the frustration he's managing. Miss Fischer, you need to control your tone right now. I'll use whatever tone I want. You're being completely unreasonable. Buzz. The phone in Rachel's hand vibrates again. And in what will later be described by courtroom observers as one of the most brazen acts of contempt they've ever witnessed, Rachel looks Judge Frank Caprio directly in the eyes and answers the call. Yeah, she says into the phone, her gaze locked with Caprio's in open defiance. The courtroom erupts in gasps, murmurs of disbelief. This isn't just crossing a line. This is obliterating it. Miss Fischer, hang up that phone immediately, Caprio commands, standing from the bench. She holds up her finger again, to a judge, while on the phone in active court proceedings. I said hold on. Then, into the phone. Yeah, I'm still here. I'm stuck in court right now. Hang up the phone, Caprio repeats, his voice carrying absolute authority. She covers the phone's mouthpiece. Would you relax? I'll be done in 1 second. Bailiff, Judge Caprio says, and the bailiff immediately moves toward Rachel's position. Rachel's eyes widen as she suddenly realizes this has escalated beyond her control. She ends the call quickly, holding up both hands in a placating gesture. Okay, I hung up. Happy now? Judge Caprio remains standing, his posture rigid. No, Miss Fischer, I am not happy. You've been warned 4 times. You've defied direct orders repeatedly. You've been disrespectful and dismissive of this court's authority. And you just answered a phone call while I was addressing you directly. Because it was important, Rachel protests, as if this justification should be self-evident. Nothing, Caprio says slowly, emphasizing each word, is more important than respecting this court and these proceedings. Rachel throws her hands up in exasperation. Oh my God, you're acting like I committed murder. It's a phone call. Judge Caprio's expression hardens. The moment of reckoning has arrived. Miss Fischer, he says, his voice carrying the weight of judicial authority. "I am citing you for contempt of court." Rachel's face goes from red to pale in an instant. "What?" "You have repeatedly violated courtroom protocol. You've been openly disrespectful to this court. You've defied multiple direct orders from the bench, and you answered a phone call while proceedings were in session." "This is... You can't do this." "I absolutely can, and I am." Something breaks in Rachel's self-control. All the frustration, all the indignation, all the sense of persecution comes pouring out. "You're a joke," she spits. "This whole thing is a joke. You're sitting up there acting like some king because you have a robe on." Judge Caprio's expression doesn't change, but his voice drops even lower. "Miss Fischer, every word you say right now is making this situation worse for you." "I don't care." Her voice is rising now, losing the veneer of professional composure. "You're being ridiculous, petty, power-hungry." "Are you finished?" "No, I'm not finished." "You want to fine me for using my phone? Fine. But don't act like you're doing something noble. You're just a bully with a gavel." The courtroom is dead silent. Everyone present is watching this woman destroy herself in real time, word by word, digging herself deeper into a hole of her own making. Judge Caprio's voice, when he speaks, is ice, cold, clear, and final. "Miss Fischer, here is my ruling." He picks up his pen, making notes on the file before him as he speaks. "For your speeding violation, traveling 82 miles per hour in a 65-mile-per-hour zone, you are fined $350 and assessed 3 points on your driving record." Rachel crosses her arms, her face set in defiant lines. "Whatever." For contempt of court, which includes repeated phone use despite direct orders, defiance of judicial authority, disrespectful behavior toward this court, and verbal abuse of a sitting judge, you are fined an additional $750. Her face drains of color completely. $750. That brings your total fine to $1,100. You can't be serious. Additionally, Caprio continues, ignoring her protest, you are required to complete 6 hours of community service focused on courtroom procedure and respect for the judicial process. "Community service?" Rachel's voice cracks with disbelief. "For using my phone?" "For contempt of court," Caprio corrects firmly, "which includes phone use, repeated defiance, and profound disrespect for these proceedings." "This is insane. I'm appealing this. My lawyer will..." "Your lawyer can file whatever motions they wish. This ruling stands. You will pay your fine at the clerk's window before leaving today. Your community service must be completed within 60 days. If you fail to comply, a warrant will be issued for your arrest." "A warrant?" Rachel's voice is shrill now. "For phone use?" "For contempt of court," Caprio repeats with deliberate patience, "which you are continuing to demonstrate even now with your tone and demeanor." Rachel grabs her purse from the table, her movements sharp and angry. In what can only be described as a final act of defiance, she pulls out her phone deliberately, making eye contact with Judge Caprio as she does so. "I'm calling my lawyer right now." "Not in my courtroom, you're not. Bailiff, please escort Miss Fischer out." "Don't touch me!" She backs away from the approaching bailiff, her voice rising. "I'm leaving, but this isn't over." She storms toward the exit, phone already pressed to her ear. Her voice, angry and self-righteous, carries back into the courtroom as she pushes through the doors. "Yeah, I need a lawyer. Some judge just went crazy on me for using my phone." The voice fades as the doors close behind her. Judge Caprio sits back down, takes a measured breath, and looks at the next case file on his desk. Just another day dealing with people who believe rules don't apply to them. Rachel does exactly what she threatened. She appeals. Her attorney, a patient man named Marcus Rothstein who has handled hundreds of cases, reviews the courtroom video footage with her 3 days later. His office is quiet, professional, lined with law books and framed degrees. He pauses the video at a particularly damning moment. "Rachel, with her finger held up toward the judge. "Rachel," he says carefully, "I'm not going to lie to you. This is bad." "What do you mean?" She's still defensive, still convinced she's been wronged. "He was completely out of line." Marcus rewinds the video, playing it from the beginning. The recording shows him asking you politely, 4 separate times, to put your phone away. You ignored him every time. Then you answered a call while he was speaking directly to you. Then you called him a joke and a bully. "Because he was being—" "Rachel." Marcus holds up his hand, his expression serious. "Stop. You don't have a case. Every judge who reviews this footage will side with Judge Caprio. You were disrespectful, defiant, and contemptuous. The behavior is documented. The warnings are documented. Your responses are documented." He leans forward, his voice gentle but firm. "The appeal will fail. And honestly, it might make things worse. If you push this, another judge could increase the penalties." Rachel deflates, the fight draining out of her. "So I just have to pay $100? "Yes." "And do the community service?" "Yes." And honestly, Rachel, you got off light. Judge Caprio could have added jail time for contempt. Some judges would have. Rachel blinks. "Jail time for phone use?" "For contempt of court," Marcus corrects patiently. "Which is exactly what you committed, multiple times, on video." The appeal is quietly withdrawn. Rachel pays her $100 fine. The money comes out of her savings. Money she'd been setting aside for a vacation. Now gone because of a series of text messages she can't even remember the content of. She reports for her 6 hours of community service at the Providence County Courthouse. She's assigned to the court education program, where she sits through presentations about proper courtroom behavior, watches training videos about the importance of judicial decorum, and listens to a retired judge explain why these rules exist. "Phones disrupt proceedings," the coordinator explains patiently to the small group of community service participants. "They show disrespect to the court, to the judge, and to other people waiting for their cases to be heard. When you're in court, you're there to participate in the legal process, not to multitask with your daily life." Rachel sits in the back row, arms crossed, still resentful. But as the hours pass, as she hears case after case of people who showed disrespect and paid consequences, something begins to shift in her understanding. The coordinator shows them actual footage of courtroom disruptions. People on phones, people eating, people sleeping, people showing up in inappropriate clothing. Each violation, each sign of disrespect, chips away at the dignity of legal proceedings that people depend on for justice. By hour 5, Rachel isn't crossing her arms anymore. She's taking notes. While Rachel is serving her community service hours, the courtroom video goes viral. Someone, likely a court employee or member of the gallery, leaked the footage to social media. Within 48 hours, woman uses phone in court, pays $750 for it, has been viewed over 3 million times. The comments section becomes a referendum on respect, authority, and modern phone addiction. "Put your phone away in court, it's not that hard." "She called him a joke and a bully. She found out." Judge Caprio was incredibly patient with her. She got 4 warnings. "It's important" is not an excuse. Court is important too. "The entitlement is unreal. Just put the phone down for 10 minutes. "My work emergency girl just learned in what, a $100 lesson." Rachel sees the video. A friend sends it to her with a concerned message. "OMG, is this you?" She watches herself on her phone, sees herself hold up that dismissive finger, watches herself roll her eyes at a judge. She hears her own voice saying, "You're a joke," and "You're just a bully with a gavel." She's mortified. The person on screen looks entitled, dismissive, disrespectful, everything she never thought she was. But there's no denying it. The camera doesn't lie. The comments are brutal, but many are also correct. She was given chance after chance. She was warned repeatedly. And she chose, again and again, to prioritize her phone over basic respect. 3 months later, Rachel receives another speeding ticket. Different jurisdiction, different court, different judge. She sits in the gallery waiting for her case to be called, and her phone buzzes in her purse. The instinct to check it is immediate, powerful, muscle memory built over years of constant connectivity. Her hand moves toward her purse, then stops. She thinks about Judge Caprio, about the wow, the $100, about the community service, about watching herself on video and cringing at her own behavior. The phone buzzes again. She doesn't move. Case 5521, Rachel Fischer, the clerk calls. Rachel approaches the bench, leaving her purse and her phone behind at her seat. This judge is younger than Caprio, a woman named Judge Martinez who reviews the case file with efficient precision. Miss Fischer, you were cited for traveling 72 in a 60. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. As they're discussing the circumstances, Rachel's phone buzzes again from her purse several rows back. It's audible in the quiet courtroom. Judge Martinez looks toward the sound, then back at Rachel. Ma'am, if you need to check your phone, you can step outside and we'll call you back when you're ready. Rachel meets the judge's eyes. No, Your Honor. I'm fine. It can wait. Judge Martinez nods, something like approval crossing her features. She returns to the file, asks Rachel a few more questions about her driving record, about the circumstances of the violation. Miss Fischer, I'm going to reduce your fine to $150, given your respectful demeanor and clean record in this jurisdiction. Please be more mindful of your speed in the future. Thank you, Your Honor. I will. Rachel pays her reduced fine at the clerk's window and walks to her car. Only then does she check her phone. 3 messages from her boss, none of them actually urgent. 1 from a coworker about lunch plans. 1 notification from a shopping app. Nothing that couldn't have waited. Nothing worth $1,100. Nothing worth becoming a viral cautionary tale. She thinks about the contrast between the 2 hearings, Judge Caprio's courtroom where she fought and lost everything, and Judge Martinez's courtroom where basic respect earned her consideration and leniency. Respect cost nothing. Disrespect cost her $100. The story of Rachel Fischer doesn't end with her viral video and expensive lesson. It becomes part of something larger, a cultural conversation about phone addiction, respect for institutions, and the boundaries of acceptable behavior. Law schools begin using the footage in professional responsibility courses, showing students what contempt of court actually looks like and how quickly situations can escalate when respect breaks down. The Providence court system updates its policies, creating clearer signage about phone use and implementing a system where everyone entering the courtroom must silence and store their phones in a visible location. Judge Caprio himself addresses the incident in a later interview with a local news station, though he doesn't mention Rachel by name. Courts operate on mutual respect, he explains to the reporter. When someone comes before the bench, they're participating in a system that has existed for centuries, a system designed to resolve disputes fairly, to hold people accountable, to administer justice. When someone can't put their phone down for 10 minutes to participate in that process, it's not just disrespectful to me as an individual. It's disrespectful to everyone who depends on that system working properly. The reporter asks if he felt the penalty was too harsh. Caprio shakes his head. I gave 4 warnings, 4 opportunities to simply put the phone away and participate, respectfully. The penalty wasn't for phone use. It was for repeated defiance and disrespect after multiple chances to correct the behavior. That's what contempt of court means. 1 year after her infamous court appearance, Rachel Fischer is a different person. Not dramatically, not in ways that are visible from the outside, but in small, significant ways. She still has her phone. She still checks it regularly. But she's developed something she didn't have before: awareness of context. In meetings, the phone stays in her bag. At dinner with friends, it stays face down on the table, untouched until everyone's ready to leave. In any setting where someone is speaking directly to her, the phone doesn't exist. She's been promoted at work, her boss noting in her review that she's become more present, more engaged, more focused during important conversations. When friends complain about being addicted to their phones, Rachel tells them her story. Not the sanitized version, not the "I had a difficult experience" version, but the real one. I got fined $1,100 for using my phone in court because I couldn't stop texting for 10 minutes. The reactions are always the same: shock, disbelief, nervous laughter. Then usually, "Wait, seriously? Seriously. I answered a call while the judge was talking to me. I called him a bully. I got charged with contempt of court, and I deserved it." She no longer tries to justify her behavior. She doesn't claim the texts were important, doesn't argue that the judge was on a power trip. She owns what happened and what it taught her. The video still exists online, still gets shared periodically when discussions about phone addiction surface on social media. Rachel has stopped reading the comments. She knows what they say. She knows what she looked like. She doesn't need the reminder anymore. The lesson is burned into her memory every time she feels that instinctive pull to check her phone at an inappropriate moment. Rachel's case becomes part of a larger database maintained by the National Center for State Courts, a collection of cases illustrating various forms of contempt and their consequences. Her case is labeled Fischer versus Providence Municipal Court, 2024, and is cited in 7 different academic papers about courtroom decorum in the digital age. A technology company developing mindful phone use, apps, uses an anonymized version of her story in their marketing. Don't let your phone cost you $100. Our app helps you stay present in important moments. The Providence Police Department adds a new line to their citation notices. When appearing in court, all phones must be silenced and stored. Phone use during proceedings may result in contempt charges and additional fines. Judge Caprio continues his work, presiding over case after case, most of them routine, some of them challenging. He treats each defendant the same way he treated Rachel, with initial patience, clear warnings, and firm consequences when respect breaks down. He never mentions the Fischer case by name, but when defendants appear before him on their phones, he doesn't have to explain why they need to put them away. Someone in the gallery usually whispers, "Remember that woman who got fined $750? And the phone disappears immediately. 2 years after the incident, Rachel is sitting in a coffee shop when she sees a young woman at the next table, maybe 22, 23 years old, completely absorbed in her phone, while her friend sits across from her, visibly trying to have a conversation. The friend finally says, "Are you even listening to me?" Yeah, I'm listening," the young woman responds, not looking up. Rachel watches this interaction, seeing herself 2 years ago. The automatic defense, the assumption that multitasking is possible, that you can be genuinely present while your attention is divided. She wants to lean over, to tell the young woman what she learned the hard way. But she doesn't. Some lessons have to be learned personally. Some consequences have to be experienced directly before the message truly lands. Instead, Rachel finishes her coffee, puts her phone in her bag, and walks out into the autumn afternoon. She has a meeting in an hour. Her phone will stay in her bag the entire time, not because she's afraid of consequences, not because someone is forcing her, because she finally understands something that cost her $100 to learn. Being present matters more than being connected. The world won't end if you miss a text. Your job won't collapse if you don't answer immediately. Your importance isn't measured by how quickly you respond to every notification, but your character is measured by how you treat people and institutions, by whether you can put aside distractions and be fully present when it matters, by whether you can show basic respect even when it's inconvenient. Rachel Fischer learned this lesson in the most expensive, most public, most humiliating way possible. But she learned it. And somewhere in Providence, in a municipal courtroom where justice is administered with patience, fairness, and firm boundaries, Judge Frank Caprio is hearing the next case, ready to give the next defendant the same chances Rachel received, and hoping they're wise enough to take them. This story is a dramatization created for storytelling and educational purposes. All characters, events, and institutions depicted are fictional. This content is not legal advice and should not be interpreted as such.